If you're here watching live right now, could you maybe drop a hello in the chat and let me know where you're watching from? That would help me know that I am not alone at this point in time. Hi, Katie. All right, cool. We now know it's working. This is very helpful. So, I guess I'm going to make it so you guys can see my face. Hello. I'm not used to having this much power over a live stream. It's very nice. Anyways, hi, I'm Cassie Winter. Today's class is going to be amazing. If you're up for it, please give this live stream a share on your Facebook profile, and maybe we'll catch some stragglers that way. Otherwise, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, Monique. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Janine. This is so exciting. And also, so you're aware, camera, computer, my presentation. So I am paying attention to you guys, I swear. Alrighty, I think we'll just go ahead and get started. So let me make sure I have everything in order. Hiya. All right, so in theory, you can now see both me and the presentation. So I put this class together because, well, I have struggled a lot in my life with like depression and stuff, and I've come up with some tools that have really helped me. So that's where this comes from. So I guess we'll go ahead and get on started. So there's a quote that I'm sure you've heard before. It's by Jim Rohn, and it goes, "If you really want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse." I fucking hate that quote so much. It stands on the assumption that all people automatically act if they want something, right? But this simply isn't true. I could spend weeks telling you about all the ways it isn't true, but that's not why we're here today, obviously. So I think you're here because you know in your gut that you do want something, whatever it is, and you want to find a way to get yourself to take action. So here's the truth. If you really want to do something and you haven't been able to get yourself to take action, there is a way. Today, we're going to touch on a few of the reasons why you haven't been taking action, and we're going to focus on a few simple, concrete ways you can start taking action today. So excited. Anyways. The more you want something, the more value and meaning it holds for you, the more likely you are to be afraid of the very thing you want. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of success, fear of change, fear of not being enough, fear of not being worthy, or all of the above, the result is the same. The result is resistance and procrastination. The result is you, a creator who isn't creating. So what do we do in the face of fear? And don't worry, I'm not going to just tell you to feel the fear and do it anyway. That quote has its own set of problems I could go on and on about, but that's not why we're here today. So instead, I'm going to give you concrete tools to increase your resiliency in the face of fear. Tools to help you get unstuck, tools to help you conquer your resistance, tools to help you take action consistently, and tools to help you get what you want without force. And that last one is super important, because if you come at yourself from a place of punishment to get yourself to do things, it's going to have the opposite effect. It's going to be harder to do things. And don't punish yourself. That's mean and not okay. You wouldn't let somebody else do that to you, so why do it to yourself? So this is all coming from a place of self-care instead of punishment. And that's super important. So who the hell am I to be teaching you this today? I'm Cassie Winter. I'm an accountability and life coach. I help creatives with chronic illnesses and trauma histories get unstuck, be productive, and live their best lives without overworking themselves. I help them show up for themselves and their dreams every day even on their darkest days. How did I come to be this wonky mishmash of chronic illness, mental health, and trauma-informed accountability, creativity, and life coach? I'm a creative at heart. I'm a writer, a dancer, an entrepreneur, and I've struggled with chronic illness, invisible disability, CPTSD, PTSD, anxiety, and severe depression since childhood. It might sound like a lot, and it is. I'm really good at pretending I'm okay most of the time, but there's a lot going on underneath the surface, for those of you who don't know me well. I spent over a decade of my adult life hardly doing anything that I found meaningful, and it nearly killed me. I say that jokingly, but I'm very serious when I say that. Finding my way from just dreaming to actually doing has been a long, hard, and winding road. And because I've been on that road and taken all the detours and false turns and finally found my way, I can now give you the gift of my experience. I can give you a map with all the shortcuts. I love shortcuts. Someone else might call these life hacks. I don't like that term. Anyways, I can be your guide on your road, so you can arrive at your destination a hell of a lot faster than I did and without all the false turns. I'm here to show up for you so you can finally show up for yourself. That's like my modus operandi. That is what I'm here to do. I'm here to show up for people so they can show up for themselves, finally, in a real way, and live their best lives. Anyways, so you can both accomplish your goals and live your life too, because who cares about accomplishing goals if you're not alive and feel like you're living? So that's why I'm talking about this topic today. So today you're going to learn 3 mindset shifts that will allow you to use the button share time process to its fullest potential. And really, these are like the really important things about today. And then also you'll learn the 3-step button share time process itself, which is like super simple. It's the mindset shifts that make it so powerful. These tools changed my life, no joke, and I'm honored to share them with you today. So let's get to it. And there will be a QA section at the very end. So if you have questions, just hold on to them, maybe like jot them down, and we can discuss them at the end. So first off, we need to distinguish between the craft of creativity and the work of creating. Let's take writing as an example because it's a really clear one. The craft of writing includes things like story, plot, character, conflict, word choice, and voice, etc., right? Or let's take dancing as another example. The craft of dancing includes things like style, technique, patterns, and music. These things I've just listed as examples are all tools in a creative's toolbox. The simple 3-step button share time process is a tool to add to your toolbox. But knowing how to use a tool is just as important as the tool itself. For example, if you'd never written by hand before and I gave you a pen, the pen would be useless to you. So before I teach you the button share time process for conquering resistance, you need to learn how to use it. Using this tool masterfully requires 3 mindset. I can words. Using this tool masterfully requires 3 mindset shifts. 1, switching from goals based on creative output to goals based on time input. 2, expanding your perception of what qualifies as creative work. And 3, learning that being a slave to flow or being in the zone can actually hurt you, and that setting clear boundaries around your creative work is the real key to consistent action and inspiration. Onward and upward. So, mindset shift number 1. Goal setting, if done correctly, can transform any area of your life, and your creative work is no exception. The right goals inspire consistency, and to succeed as a creator, consistency is key. Before we discuss how to set inspiring and motivating goals, however, let's talk about discipline. I hate the word discipline. To me, discipline implies force, that to be disciplined, you need to sit yourself down and force yourself to work and to do it grudgingly, day after day after day. Ugh. This is a miserable way to lead a creative life. Creative consistency and fulfillment cannot arise under the force of discipline. That would be like sealing a plant in a steel box and yelling at it, grow, grow, grow. Super unhelpful, right? Instead, consistency and fulfillment arise when allowed enough time and space to grow organically. This is like putting your plant in the proper sized container, feeding it the right amount of water and sunlight, and nourishing it with the proper soil. Plants thrive under the right conditions, and so does your creativity and productivity. Beating yourself up for not working or forcing yourself to work won't help you create. Instead, they do the opposite. Like the plant in the steel box, your creativity struggles to survive. So what does this look like in practice? Let's take a look at some examples. Let's look at writing, because it's one of the clearest examples. If you use word count goals, for example, for your writing sessions, like let's say your goal is to write 500 words in a session, you are focusing on the output of your writing session and are therefore forcing yourself to write. Output-based writing goals are the equivalent of trapping a plant in a steel box. Your writing and your creativity will suffer. Other examples of output goals include paint one painting, choreograph a 2-minute dance. So what do you do instead? You create space for your creativity by setting goals based on time input, and don't force creative output during that time. Setting a goal based on time input is simple. It looks like this: write for 30 minutes, paint for 1 hour, work on choreography for 2 hours. And then, moving on to mindset shift number 2, we tend to romanticize creativity and picture artists hard at work. Writers putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and writing, the words streaming out of them. Painters brushing paint onto their canvases with confidence. Dancers putting on a song and moving with certainty. Not only are these images unrealistic, it ignores the fact that creatives spend just as much time, if not more, thinking and testing as they do creating. Which leads me to my next point, which, as a diehard nerd, this pains me to say, Yoda was wrong. Sorry, you just have to put that out there. It's true. I love you, Yoda, but you are wrong in this instance. His advice to do or do not, there is no try, is a one-way ticket to procrastination, resistance, and creative blocks. This is just another way of focusing on your creative output instead of time and effort input. Instead, trying opens your world to all the possibilities that can help you succeed. Trying gives you permission to find your way as you go, to find you as you go. Trying gives you the space to be human, to be perfectly imperfect. You don't have to have it all figured out in order to start. I'm going to repeat that because it's super important. You don't have to have it all figured out in order to start. So let's go back to mindset shift number 2. The ratio between time spent thinking or testing and time spent creating is unique to every artist and to every work session. And so is what thinking looks like. Let's take writers, for example. Again, can you tell I'm a writer? I mean, it's the easiest thing for me to talk about. But anyways, some writers sit and stare out a window while others take walks. And yet others journal their thoughts. And these are only a few examples. I know I tend to look like I'm not thinking, like I'm loading a software update into my brain, because I'll just shut off everything and I'll just be thinking and pondering, even though it looks like the lights aren't on. The same writer might even change what they do while they think, depending on how they feel on a given day. The point is to be open in the moment to what conditions your mind and body need to do your creative work. By being open to trying, to spending more time and effort deliberately thinking, testing, and planning, you give your creativity the space it needs to grow organically. It is openness and not force that encourages flow. So let's take a few examples of what qualifies as creative work. So creative work is words written, moves choreographed, lines drawn, shapes painted, stitches sewn. But creative work is also dreaming, thinking, planning, researching, refilling your creative well. Creative work encompasses everything, even sometimes the time spent in fallow, where you're just empty and you're just letting yourself be refilled before you can work again. Like, rest is important. We'll be getting to that a little bit more later. This mindset shift can feel freeing because it finally gives you the unconditional permission to do the work of creating, all the work, but it can also feel heavy. You might now be realizing how much work you've actually been doing when you start understanding this mindset shift. How much important hard work you've been doing, work that you haven't been calling work. And this sudden realization can feel exhausting, and that's okay. Take a moment to pat yourself on the back for how hard you've been working. No, really, take a moment, breathe in, exhale. Because I know if you're here watching, you're a hard worker, just like me. So, give yourself a pat on the back. You're awesome. So this brings me to my next point. Rest is also work. Rest is necessary work. If you don't rest, if you don't care for your body, mind, and soul, if you don't refill your creative well, your work will dry up. Therefore, rest is part of the work. So if you're feeling tired having realized how hard you work, I officially give you unconditional permission to rest. If you have the time, maybe take a nap after we're done today. That sounds amazing. I might do the same. All right. So let's sit with this new information for a moment. Now that you've had this powerful mindset shift, let me know in the comments. So I want to hear your answers. What tasks can you now label as creative work or just work that you didn't or couldn't label as work before? Or how does it feel to know that that work is just as important as the rest? Yay. Katie says, validating. That's so true. Lisa says, all the learning she's doing now. Janine says, reading. It's all work, and it's valid work, and it's important work. And I know Lisa is a fellow triber, and we've been working really hard learning how to build membership businesses right now. And that learning is so much work, but it's really important. Suzanne says going for a walk. Oh yeah, that's really important work. And Janine says gardening. This is awesome. Yeah, so this stuff, understanding that it's all part of the work is really important. All right, let's move on. So, mindset shift number 3, prioritize boundaries over flow. Flow, or being in the zone, is that magical state where intense focus and effort on something that fascinates and challenges you feels so joyful that you lose track of time. When in flow, it becomes effortless to continue your work for hours on end. Being in flow is one of the most rewarding experiences we can have. And I'm not here to tell you that flow is bad, because it isn't. Flow is wonderful. What can be a problem, however, is if you let flow control how you spend your time. It's really important as a creative that you're still in control. You don't let yourself become a puppet. So let's take an example. Let's say you've been struggling with resistance and writer's block for a while, anywhere from days to weeks or even years. That was me for a while. And you finally had enough. You sit yourself down at your desk and tell yourself, I'm not getting up until I've written 1,000 words. You then sit there and grind, forcing yourself to write. The first hour or more feels like torture. The words just won't come, but you don't give up. You've got 1,000 words to write. Darn it. Through sheer determination, you eventually reach the tipping point into flow, and the words start coming. Oh man, if you've been there, it's such a rush. You're proud of yourself for not giving up and thrilled to be back in the zone. And you quickly reach your 1,000 word goal. But, this is the big but, you're finally back in flow and you don't know when you'll be in flow again. So you keep writing. Before you know it, hours and hours have passed and you've written double, maybe even triple or quadruple the words you set out to write for that day. When you finally finish your writing session, you feel so accomplished. It's an amazing feeling. But here's the catch. Let me ask you this. After this long, almost fevered writing session, how likely are you to write again tomorrow? I bet it's not very likely. In fact, I bet you are less likely to write again the next day. Yeah? Why? Because you worked so hard today, you're burnt out and need rest tomorrow. And you unconsciously created the expectation that your next writing session will be just as long, productive, and in flow as this one, which is an impossible expectation. So what happens next? You don't write. Who knows how many days, weeks, months, or even years it will be before you sit down and write again. Then, because it's been so long, you'll sit down to write with the same determination that got you into this mess in the first place, and the cycle will repeat. Being a slave to flow ensures that you will rarely experience it, and what's more, you're likely to hardly create at all in between flow sessions. If you have experienced this before, just write me in the comments. I want to see who else has experienced, because I know I was on this hamster wheel for years myself, way back in the day. The solution is to set clear boundaries around your creative work and to actively enforce those boundaries, especially if you're in flow. Oh yeah, Janine says me, Katie says me. We've all been there. If the writer in my example had stopped themselves after writing 1,000 words, even though they were still in flow, they would have been more likely to write again the next day because they wouldn't have overworked themselves or set impossible expectations for their next writing session. Furthermore, they would have had notes on their flow state to get into the zone faster during their next writing session. Monique also says me, yeah, you're not alone, Monique. So when you set and enforce boundaries around your time, especially when you experience flow, returning to your work every day becomes easier and you experience flow more often. Hallelujah. Who's excited to start establishing some boundaries around their work? Write boundaries in the comments if you're with me. So let's do a quick recap. You've learned 3 key mindset shifts so far today. And they seem small when they're just listed 1, 2, 3 here. But here they are again. Mindset shift 1, switching from output-based goals to time input-based goals. 2, expand your perception of what qualifies as work. And 3, prioritize boundaries over flow. Ah, sweet. Janine says boundaries. Katie says boundaries. Woo! Monique says boundaries. This is so exciting. I love me some boundaries. It took me way too long in life to learn about boundaries, but that's a workshop for another day. So now that you understand these 3 shifts and have them in your toolbox, it's finally time to teach you the button share time process. It's only 3 steps and may appear deceivingly simple, but it's powerful because of the mindset shifts we have just gone over. So let's get started. Step 1, choose how many days a week you'll have your button share time. I actually don't recommend working every day. Instead, I recommend at least 4 days a week and no more than 6. This way, you're creating on the majority of days and can turn it into a habit, but you're still allowing yourself ample rest, which, as if you recall, is part of the work. Oh yeah, I can totally do a boundaries workshop in the future, Monique. That sounds like fun. evil cackle. So at least 4 days a week, no more than 6. So that way you're actually planning rest into your work. The next step is to choose how long each of your work sessions will be. I want you to make a time commitment that is doable. If 1 hour feels like too much or gives you anxiety, try 30 minutes. If 30 minutes feels like too much, try 15 minutes. You want to keep getting smaller and smaller until the number feels like a gentle challenge. A number that's completely doable, yet challenging enough that you'll feel proud of yourself when the timer goes off. And now here's the kicker. Keep in mind that the more important and meaningful your creative work is to you, or whatever you're working on, you'll likely benefit from spending less button share time on it to start. Because remember what we talked about at the very beginning, how meaning and fear create resistance? This means the stronger we feel about something, the gentler we need to be with ourselves to move forward. And over time, you can increase your time goal as your creativity muscles grow stronger. So as an example, way back in the day, I didn't write for 10 years. And then I was like, no, I'm going to write. And I started small. I think it was 30 minutes every weekday. So 5 days a week for me. And that eventually grew into 60 minutes every weekday. And I stuck with that. And it was also the first thing I did in the morning after having breakfast. So I had a habit trigger, which is a different concept altogether. But that really simple goal was doable, and letting myself stop when the timer went off was so freeing. So the more important something is, the easier you need to be on yourself. So then finally, the last step of part 1 is to schedule your button share time on your calendar so you won't forget and can hold yourself accountable to it. As an example, my current goal for my creative writing is to write 30 minutes a day because I'm also building a business at the same time. And for those of you who are West Coast swing dancers know I'm also working on Nerdy West Coast Swing. If you've checked out Nerdy West Coast Swing and love it, put nerdy in the comments. I love that show. It's so much fun. We had a great episode last night on pitch when dancing to blues music. So good. So now, step 2 is the actual button share time itself. We have arrived. This is what you actually do during a work session, during your button share time. Now, when the time comes to start a session, 1, you set a timer for the amount of time you've already decided you're going to work. 2, you try to work. And 3, you stop when the timer goes off. Haha, yay. Christian, Monique, say nerdy. Yeah. Nerdy Westies rule. Okay. So anyway, so you set a timer, you try to work, and when the timer goes off, you stop. And then you allow yourself no more than 3 minutes to take notes on your headspace after the timer goes off. This way, if you were in the zone, you'll know really clearly where to pick up when you start again at your next session. So that's really important. And also, this is where the 3 mindset shifts come into play. So remember, we're mindset shift number 1, switching from output goals to input goals. So that's where the timer boundary comes in. Mindset shift number 2, you expand your Wow, the longer I talk, the more incapable of enunciating I become. I hope it's entertaining for you. It's slightly anxiety inducing for me. back to the presentation. Mindset shift number 2, expand your perception of what qualifies as creative work. And 3, prioritize boundaries over flow. You need to remember that creative work looks different from person to person and day to day. Choose the work that best suits you in the moment and be open to changing methods as you go. This distinction allows your button share time sessions to take whatever form you and your creativity need. Let's take writing, for example. Again, I know, I roll, but hey, anything from staring blankly out the window feeling blocked, to daydreaming, to journaling, to sputtering between thinking and writing things down, to spending a whole hour writing a single sentence, to writing so quickly your pen or keyboard can't keep up with you, and so much more are included in a writer's creative work. Thanks, Monique. I am proud of being a human. Yes. Oh, yes, that is so true. And it's also interesting in quarantine because it's like you go most of your day without talking to anyone except your cat. And then suddenly you're talking online. It's weird. So thank you for the empathy. I appreciate it. So even if the timer goes off and a writer hasn't written a single word, they did their butt in chair time right. I'm going to say that again. So even if the timer goes off and a writer hasn't written a single damn word, they did their butt in chair time correctly. Because as long as you try to work until your timer goes off, you have met your goal. Let's take a moment to let that sink in. Let's take a deep breath. Really take a moment to answer this question for yourself right now. And you don't have to put this in the comments, just like talk to yourself right now. How does it feel to know that trying until the timer goes off is all you need to do? I'm not sure what you mean, Krisha, by how, because there's a 15-second delay. So if you could be more specific with your question, I'd be happy to answer it. Yay. Katie says it's very freeing. Relief. Yes. See, Yoda was wrong. Yoda just inspires anxiety. It's not pleasant. I mean, got a lot of other stuff right, but Yoda, we need to have a conversation. So isn't that incredible how freeing this process feels, how much ease it allows into your life? All right, so now I've got one more step in the process for you, and this one is a lot of fun and very motivating. Doing the try is doing. Oh man, I love that. Can I quote you in the future? Because that's a beautiful sentence. Oh, interesting. Okay, so Krisha asked, how does sitting and not getting anything done complete your goal? So this is a really juicy topic. So if you think about what adds up to work, the thinking and planning is important. So if I talk about the young adult novel that I've been working on for the past few years, it's a huge project. I think it is now at 104,000 words. And a lot of the upfront work and then also work preparing to do a revision comes from me thinking it through and wrapping my head around things. So the main character's name is Joe, and I am a very character-driven writer. Like, I love plot. Plot's my jam. For those of you who've been to Rose City Swing, you know I'm a plot person. If you have attended Rose City Swing in the last 3 years, put RCS in the comments. But before I can actually write something, I need to know exactly what's going on and why. I need to understand the Rube Goldberg machine in my brain that is the story. And so there were times when during my entire hour, yeah, Nick says RCS, yes, During my entire hour of button chair time on a given day would just be me reclining back in my chair with my feet up on my desk, staring blankly into the middle distance and just thinking about it. Because I'd have a problem. I'd be like, okay, Joe needs to go from here to here emotionally. What do I need to throw at her to catalyze that change? And it's a lot of shifting of puzzle pieces to see how things fit together. And it's a lot of thinking. And when I'd have like an aha, I'd write it down as a note. But that wouldn't qualify as a piece of prose that ends up in the draft, right? So the whole point of button chair time is to focus on putting in the time instead of forcing any amount of output. So on a grander scheme, you can balance an actual like long-term output-based goal, like getting the first draft of your novel written, for example, and you could have a hopeful goal of when you'll achieve that. But when it comes to your goal on any given day, focusing on putting in the time relieves a lot of the pressure off of yourself in order to actually do what's necessary to move the project forward. Because I think a lot of times what happens is people want to get right to the good stuff, like putting words on the page or figuring out moves for your choreography, that kind of stuff, without realizing how much thinking and planning has to go into it beforehand. And if you skip the planning, you actually often end up putting in more time and effort to fix what went wrong because you didn't plan effectively than you would have needed if you had planned correctly in the beginning. So it's that shift of making sure you're focusing on time input instead of creative output, and allowing thinking and planning to be a large portion of your work. That's how, when the timer goes off, you've met your goal because you have been trying to move yourself forward during that time. And what I experienced when writing my novel is that there would be sometimes like several days in a row where I would just be thinking. But then I would hit a point where I had thought enough that all the puzzle pieces fell into place and the words just flowed out of me. And so understanding all that planning and preparation is important and necessary is what allows the time input to be your main goal on a daily basis. So I hope that answers your question, Krisha. All right. Yay, we got some RCS. Katie says, pressure tends to kill my productivity, so this is revolutionary. Yay! That's why I'm here. I'm tired of people punishing themselves in our hustle-based culture. It's like, it's in quarantine. If you're not writing your novel or building your business, this is a global trauma. Chill, people. We need to be kind to ourselves and everyone else in this situation. Janine says, if I don't get a painting during butt time one day because I was there, my muse knows I'll show up the next day and will send me inspiration then. Bingo! I love how Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love, but also the incredible nonfiction book, Big Magic, talks about if you have a set time where you just show up for your creative work every day, your muse, if you're at all woo-woo, will know where to find you. It's when you're inconsistent with your creative practice, with your work, that your muse, the universe with a capital U, your higher self, it's when you're consistent, they know how to find you. And you keep the doors of communication open. But if you're inconsistent, you can't get that help. Anyways, that's just a little framework from Elizabeth Gilbert that I really love. So, all right. Krisha says, this is actually how I kind of do things. So that's quite interesting to me. I'll sit and think about what I want to sketch and then think, how do I draw that? Then I'm kind of burnt out to do the actual drawing. Yes, exactly. So the thinking is part of the work. So like you did the thinking, take notes, rest, and then when you're ready, go back. It's like brain work requires an alarming amount of calories and glucose. For those of you who don't have chronic illnesses, you're probably less aware of this, but as a spoonie myself, I know how taxing brain work is on the body. I need to make sure I am well fed, hydrated, and resting enough so that way I don't burn out. So, yeah. All right. Where on earth did my presenter window go? That was a lot of interaction, which is great. Thank you all so much for being here live. This is so wonderful. Katie says, word, my brain takes all of my energy. Amen. Same. All right, now I've got one more step in the process for you, and this one is a lot of fun and very motivating and also like stupid simple. So the third and final step of the button share time process is to track your progress. So use the calendar or habit tracker of your choice to track your time. Personally, I enjoy a printed one-page year calendar to keep track of my progress. After your timer goes off and you've noted your headspace, put an X through that day on the calendar. Taking the time to acknowledge your accomplishment is so important. When you track your time and effort, take a moment to let the accomplishment sink in and give yourself permission to feel satisfied because you met your goal. You put in the time. And then, over time, as you gain momentum with your button share time practice, your calendar will fill with X's and help you grow even more motivated to continue. So here, I actually have an example of my 2018 button share time tracker for my creative writing for the novel that I've been talking about. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see that at the end of the year, I counted and I wrote on 201 days in 2018. That's 201 days closer I got to finishing writing my YA fantasy novel that year. I regret to inform you that I don't have a 2019 calendar, and that's not because I didn't maintain my button share time in 2019. It's only because I didn't track it. And looking back, I'm sad that I didn't, because like this 2018 image is so satisfying, and I do have one for 2017. So take it from me, tracking your time and effort input is valuable, rewarding, and motivating. So give yourself this gift to look back on with pride and use it to fan the flames of your creativity as you continue on. All right. Suzanne says, someone says inspiration finds you when you're working. Move, laying out paints and just looking at them doesn't work. Yeah, interesting. It's that engagement. And as long as you're like thinking through it as you're looking at stuff, like that helps. But if you're just kind of waiting for something to happen outside of you, that's when there's a problem. You have to be like engaging with it and trying to move forward, right? Yoda was wrong. The goal is to try. Where's my thing? Okay, there we go. So, final recap. You've learned 3 key mindset shifts. Switch from output goals to input goals. 2, expand your perception of what qualifies as work. 3, prioritize boundaries over flow. And then the actual button share time process itself. 1, choose an amount of time to work and how often you'll work. 2, actually do the work, setting a timer and stopping when it goes off. And 3, track your progress. So there you have it. You've learned the thing. It's very exciting. You now have in your toolbox what I consider the single best tool for overcoming resistance and procrastination from a place of self-care and not punishment. Before I answer your questions, I want to end with this quote from one of my favorite authors, Leigh Bardugo. And I may or may not start tearing up when I read it, so I apologize in advance. And then there will be a lot of days where it just feels like a job, and a job you're not very good at. And those days where you feel like a failure, or the project isn't working, or you're just a fraud, are the days that matter most. Those days we've been taught to view as signs that you are on the wrong path. And in fact, those days are the signs that you're doing something bigger and more difficult than you've ever done before. And learning to embrace that feeling of discomfort and that feeling of not being good enough and continuing to work through it, that is the difference between being an amateur and a professional, and between having a dream and getting to actually live that dream. I love that quote. It's from one of the videos of one of her book launches. So it's not written anywhere, but I I stopped the video when I was watching and I'm like, I need to write that down because it's so powerful. So we have arrived at Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything I've talked about today, please drop them in the comments. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Yes, Leigh Bardugo is amazing. If you're a fan of fantasy, I highly recommend all of her books. She has both YA and she also came out with her first adult fantasy, The Ninth House, recently, and that was so good. All right, so I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat, so I'm just gonna keep on moving because there is a thing that I would like to share with you all. If you've got a few more minutes to spare, I'd really appreciate it. But as I go, if you have more questions on the presentation, please feel free to put them in the comments. So I've had an idea brewing in the back of my mind for the better part of a year now. Oh, yay. Thank you, Monique. I'm so happy this has been helpful for you. It means a lot to me. Yay. So anyways, I've had an idea brewing, and it's an idea that I would really love to have your help to grow. Either if you want to like participate, or if you know someone that's like, oh, this is totally for so-and-so, please, I would love your help. Because I want this idea to grow into something that serves you. So you can stop merely dreaming and start doing the things you want to do to achieve the goals you want to achieve. This isn't about hustle. I hate hustle culture. It's not about grinding or pushing yourself so hard you burn out. This is about gently changing how you live your days so accomplishing your goals becomes inevitable. This is about providing you the structure and support you've been longing for. This is about finding you inside your dreams and becoming the doer that makes them happen. So that, even on your worst days, you feel safe, supported, empowered, and fulfilled. I envision a simple yet powerful membership program revolving around just the right amount of one-on-one coaching, group coaching, accountability, structure, and support. I can't stop thinking about the potential this program has to transform people's relationships to their productivity and themselves. I can't stop thinking about how chronic illness, mental health, PTSD, and trauma-informed coaching can help people get unstuck and live their best lives. That's what gets me excited, because I remember what it was like before for me, living in my very own Groundhog's Day, where I kept waiting and hoping for tomorrow to be different. But tomorrow never came. Today was always just like yesterday, and today always sucked. I have a tendency, little confession, when I talk about my mental health issues, I have a tendency to dissociate because my mental health issues have been really dark most of my life. So I talk about this lightly here, but that's because I am strategically not actually engaging with it with my emotions. Because if I really shared how I feel thinking about all that stuff, I would fall apart and I wouldn't be able to show up for you right now. So just a little sidebar. I wish a program like this had existed back in the days when I needed it to pull me out of the dark hole I was in and help me move forward and start actually living my life instead of just, I don't know, existing. Yeah, like, ugh. So I've built this program's foundations, and here's a little taste. The program I've designed has 6 distinct stages, and each stage has dedicated milestones and action items to help you keep moving forward without burning yourself out Again, from a place of self-care, not punishment. So let's do a quick rundown of each stage. So stage 1, where you procrastinate on the things that matter to you. You want to take action, but don't know how. Stage 2, hope, where you feel motivated to figure out how to get unstuck and you're seeking resources to help you do so. Here's a hint. The fact that you're here attending this masterclass indicates you're probably already in stage 2 because you're open to trying something, to learning something, to move forward. Stage 3, embark. Now this is where the magic of Accountability Muse program starts. Embark is where you're excited and ready to start. You're developing a plan to achieve your goal. You're taking action. You've got this. Stage 4, accelerate. This is where you're taking strategic action toward your goal almost every day. And again, remember, rest is important. So almost every day, not actually every day. You're gaining momentum and feeling truly capable. And I cannot tell you how amazing it has been personally for me, finally getting to a point of feeling capable of having power over what's going to happen in my life. It's amazing. And I want to help more people get to that feeling. Stage 5, believe. You're feeling fulfilled. You believe in your ability to succeed, regardless of whatever obstacles you may encounter. Achieving your goal is just around the corner. And then stage 6, thrive. Last but not least, this is the stage where you've accomplished your first goal. You've reflected on your journey and you're ready to embark on your next goal. This is why it's a cycle in the image, because once you achieve one goal, there's another goal after that. So you cycle back through over and over again. You feel empowered, capable, and engaged and inspired. Whether you have a specific goal, like writing the first draft of a book, or something a little bit more lifestyle based, like you just want to get your life in order and have a routine that helps you get shit done, all of that is encompassed in how this cycle works. Let's see. Katie says, ooh, feeling capable of reaching my goals, that would be amazing, right? Just feeling like you have power and you're capable is an amazing feeling. Krisha says, I feel you on the not fully giving it full attention, driving right, not trying to cry. Oh, I adore you, Krisha. Thank you so much for being here. This is tough stuff. In our culture, in America in particular, it's the whole hustle culture, productivity culture. You only have value if you're a cog in the wheel of capitalism and making money and taking care of yourself. Each person for themselves. And I hate all of it. So this program that I'm designing is specifically designed in an antithesis of that, because I want people to accomplish their goals and live their life at the same time. That's really important to me. So this is my vision, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. And here's the part where you come in. I'd love to extend an early invitation to you and anyone who you may know who you think would be a good fit for this. So keep your options open. Katie says, yay, anti-hustle. Yes. So I'd love to extend an early invitation to you. I want you to be a part of this, especially if you're willing to help me refine this program as we go so it becomes the best it can be. I'm looking for only 5 founding members to help me do this. I want to serve these 5 members for the remainder of 2020. Long haul. I want to help them get the results they want and take their feedback and make this program the best it can possibly be as fast as possible. So let me ask you something. What would you like to achieve between now and the end of the year? Would you like to start a new daily habit that really becomes an actual habit, become more productive and effective, live a more balanced life where you feel both fulfilled and rested, tackle a specific project like write the first draft of a book, start a business, start a YouTube channel, declutter your home? Krisha says, me. Janine says, I think many writing groups fail because they don't know how to support the creative process. Amen. So many people focus on the output and it makes me cranky. anyways, off my soapbox. Whatever your goal, let me ask you this. How likely are you to accomplish this goal by the end of the year on your own? I don't mean to depress anybody, but it's a honest question to ask. So let me tell you a story. I have a client, an amazing, creative, passionate, driven client who is here today, and she might get mad at me for calling her this, but I stand by those adjectives, who is struggling to start writing her own book. She'd been spinning her wheels for ages. Then she hopped on a call with me, and in under 1 hour, we outlined her entire nonfiction book from start to finish. At the end of the call, she was in awe of how much we'd accomplished in that 1 hour together, confessing that it would have taken her months to do the same work by herself. So let me ask you again, how likely are you to accomplish your goal by the end of 2020 on your own? Katie says, not at all likely. Janine says, first draft of the screenplay. Ooh, is that the one I helped you brainstorm way back in the day? Because that's exciting. Katie self-identifies. Yes, Katie's the one I helped outline the book. That was such a great hour. Oh, that was so much fun. And yes, you are amazing, and I adore you. So, back to my spiel. I feel so weird spieling, so thank you all for listening. Whatever your goal, oh, wait, no, I lost my place. Oh, Katie, thank you so much. That means so much to me. Thank you. All right, where was I? All right, how likely are you to accomplish your goal by the end of the year on your own? And how much could you accomplish by the end of the year if you had the support of someone who knows what they're doing and is truly there for you every step of the way? Your own personal Greek muse. How valuable would it be to you to save months of your time and accomplish your goals faster and easier while taking care of yourself? Monique says she wants to open her mindset and establish this habit. She's already established being stuck for months without support. Yep. Not having support is awful. And the way our culture is designed, we don't take care of each other anymore. And it sucks. Oh, and see, part of the work is figuring out how to choose and prioritize. That's part of the work. So, Krisha, as you're going forward, if what you can do is your button share time, do like 10 minutes, 4 days a week, journaling about all your options and prioritizing, and just letting yourself really sift through what your life is right now, and figure that out. Because putting in the time to do that thinking is really important. Katie says that support is a game changer. Bingo. And if Lisa's still here, we're both in this wonderful tribe program, and having that community is like huge game changer. I've gotten so much more done because I have support that I need that I didn't have before. So like having good support is no joke. So the big question you may be curious about is why only 5 founding members to start. In order to do these two things, I, as someone with chronic illness and mental health issues myself, need lots of capacity for this project. So I'm setting a boundary, like I taught you to do, around the number of founding members to make sure I have the capacity to both fully serve them and refine the program throughout the rest of the year. After this initial few months, when the program is released to the general public, I anticipate the starting price for this membership to be somewhere around like $199 a month, because it's a lot of one-on-one help from me. But for the 5 founding members who decide to join me this August through November, their price will remain $99 per month for as long as they remain members in good standing. So even 5 years down the road, if you're still on the founding member price and other people are spending hundreds of dollars a month to work with me, you still only pay $99 a month. That's a steal. For some perspective, I charge $99 an hour for private coaching, whereas this is $99 a month for lots of access to me. So let's see. And Katie says, yay, boundaries. Yes, boundaries. We should have like a boundary party. I'll do like a boundary masterclass, but it'll also be a boundary party. I don't know what that means, but I'll figure it out. I'll put some button share time in that. Okay, so where did I go? Okay, here we go. So to join me as a founding member, all you have to do is go to accountabilitymuse.com/BIC and follow the simple instructions there. It's a really quick application and shouldn't take you longer than 5 minutes to complete. Katie says, where do I sign up? Way ahead of you. I'm putting in the chat the link, accountabilitymuse.com/BIC. And if y'all are going there now, let me know. If it should be up and running. It should be fine. But if for any reason you have any problems, just let me know and I'll fix it on the back end. So links in the chat. Yay. Krisha says she's signing up. Woo! So this is important. I'm only accepting applications until midnight Pacific on Thursday, July 16th. So that's a little less than a week. So if you know someone who you think would be interested, please share this with them as soon as possible. There will be a replay of this class. I'm going to have the recording all nice and gussied up, like cutting out me wiping my nose and like stumbling over my words. So it'll be a faster experience on the replay. So if you want to share this with people, please do. And I'm not budging on that deadline. If the application comes in on Friday, sorry, can't help you, unfortunately. But like we've talked about before, boundaries, super duper important. So I'm sticking to it. However, if your life is just like shenanigans right now, and you are interested in the fully fledged refined program that'll be coming out, you can just go to accountabilitymuse.com, my homepage, and sign up for the waiting list. You can also just add yourself to the waiting list anyways, and you'll get the recording of this class via email next week too. So, oh no, it doesn't work. Oh geez. Okay, please hold. Oh, I wonder if it's case sensitive. That might be the problem. Oh, there we go. Today I learned that Squarespace URLs are case sensitive. So go to accountabilitymuse.com/lowercase BIC and that should work. I'm putting the link in the chat now. Katie, let me know if that works. Thank you all for sticking with me while I figured that out. So as we're wrapping up, you just did some like really hard work. Oh yeah, Katie says it works. Hallelujah. Thank you. You just did some really hard work learning everything in this masterclass, which means you have earned some rest. So take a few minutes after we sign off and give yourself some rest. Maybe lie down for 5 minutes. If you have more time, lie down for longer. Have a glass of water. Maybe eat something if it's been a while since you've eaten. I think that's what I'm going to do. But how you rest is your choice. Just please stop doing for a few minutes when we finish up here and take a few minutes to rest. Be kind to yourself because I want you to be kind to yourself. So thank you again for joining me today. I'm going to turn off the screen share somehow, and it's just my face. So Katie says rest is crucial. Thank you for permission. You are welcome. I always give you all permission to rest. Always. It's important. So you're welcome to peace out if you need to. I'll probably stay on for another 5 minutes in case people have any questions. Otherwise, oh, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, you're welcome, Janine. Thank you all so much for being here today. It was so lovely getting to talk to real people instead of just my camera. Yeah, so thank you so much. And go ahead and if you want to fill out the application, fill out the application. If you want to make sure you don't miss the replay of this video, just go to my homepage at accountabilitymuse.com and sign up for the email list, and you'll get the replay next week via email. So yeah, I'll just stay on for a few minutes, but otherwise, if you're heading out, say bye in the comments so I know you're checking out. And thank you so much for being here today. It has been amazing, and I hope it helped you. So thank you. Bye, Janine. Thank you for coming. It means a lot. Bye, Lisa. Thank you for coming. Bye, Monique. You stay safe too. It was really good to talk to you. It's been great. It's been ages. So thank you so much for coming. I love you, Katie. This is so great. Maybe there should be a bonus for you sticking on. Here, let's see how mobile I can be with my camera work. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this poster. This is from an artist. His work is called Zen Pencils, and he used to really consistently do comic interpretations of famous quotes. And this is one of my favorites of all time. It's a quote by Jacob Riis, I believe. And it's the comic is of someone going and wanting to pull a sword out of a stone. And it says, "When nothing seems to help, I would go and look at a stone cutter hammering away at his rock perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it would split in two. And I knew it was not that blow that did it, but all that had gone before." I love that quote. And that actually really speaks directly to what Krisha was asking earlier about how not doing anything except trying and not actually, quote unquote, accomplishing anything during your button chair time, why that matters. That's why. It's because it adds up and it makes a difference in the end. So I think that's a good thing to wrap up with. All right. Thank you so much for sticking with me, Katie. Mwah. Talk to you soon. And thank you, everyone, for watching the replay. I'll hopefully see your applications in my inbox soon. All right. Bye.